Welcome back to the ultimate deep dive into the world of K-pop's most enigmatic genius. We all know Yoongi, aka Suga, aka August D, the man who spits fire on stage but carries the calm, observant soul of a philosopher offstage. He's known for his brutal honesty, his razor-sharp tongue, and a standard of living that screams authenticity over everything. But have you ever wondered what goes on behind those feline eyes when it comes to romance? While army around the globe dreams of being the one, Yoongi isn't just looking for a face, he's looking for a frequency. He's a man of silence, a man of intense labor, and a man who has zero patience for the superficial glitz of the idol industry's social circles. Today, we aren't just talking about ideal types. We are flipping the script to explore the deal breakers. What are the specific traits that would make this Daegu boy turn around and walk away without a second glance? Is it possible that the very things some people find attractive are the exact triggers for Yoongi's dislike list? Does he value the mind more than the heart, or is there a specific vibe that instantly kills the spark for him? We've gathered the clues from years of interviews, lyrics, and behind-the-scenes glimpses to bring you a list that is as cold and calculated as a cipher verse. Are you ready to see if you'd pass the test, or are you exactly the kind of person he'd avoid at a party? Buckle up, because we're diving into the psyche of a man who values peace over popularity. Do you have what it takes to understand the silent boundaries of a legend? Let's find out as we count down the types of women who would never, ever stand a chance with Yoongi. Number 7. Type: the high-maintenance attention seeker, loud luxury, total chaos. Yoongi is a man who famously said he wants to be a rock in his next life, a statement that isn't just a funny meme, but a profound insight into his need for absolute stillness and emotional equilibrium. Imagine, then, a woman whose entire existence revolves around the frantic pursuit of the spotlight, someone who thrives on high-maintenance energy and demands constant, draining validation. For Suga, this isn't just a personality clash, it's a fundamental violation of his sanctuary. He spends his days immersed in the complex, often loud world of music production, battling the noise of the industry, which means when he steps away from the mixing board, he craves a quiet soul. A woman who is perpetually chasing the latest social media trends, someone who needs grand, expensive gestures to feel loved, or someone who creates unnecessary drama just to be the center of attention would be his ultimate nightmare. Yoongi's life is built on the bedrock of authenticity and gyeongsang-do stoicism. He expresses love through quiet actions, fixing a broken chair, buying a drink without a word, or simply staying in the same room while working on separate tasks. A woman who demands loud luxury or constant emotional high-wire acts would find him cold, but in reality, he just finds that lifestyle utterly exhausting. He values substance over the flex. We've seen him in his oversized flannels and simple beanies, looking like a man who hasn't checked a mirror in 5 hours because he was too busy perfecting a snare hit. If a woman spends 3 hours getting ready just to go to a convenience store, or requires a choreographed public display of affection for her Instagram followers, the disconnect would be instant. Yoongi's world is one of deep thoughts and long silences. He needs someone who can sit in a room for 4 hours without saying a word and feel completely connected. The high-maintenance type represents the very noise he tries to filter out of his life. She is the chaotic frequency that disrupts his harmony, the person who values the image of the relationship more than the soul of the partner. In his lyrics, as August D, he often critiques the vanity and the hollow pursuit of fame, so why would he invite that same hollowness into his private life? He's looking for a partner who can handle the weight of his silence, not someone who tries to fill it with the roar of their own ego. Can you imagine the frustration of a man who values intrinsic value being paired with someone who only cares about extrinsic validation? It's a recipe for disaster. This isn't about money, it's about the energy cost. Yoongi is protective of his mental energy, and a woman who is a black hole of attention-seeking would leave him drained and creatively stunted. He doesn't want a trophy, he wants a teammate. If your idea of a perfect date is a red carpet and constant paparazzi-like attention from your partner, then you are exactly the type of person Yoongi would run away from. He's looking for the calm after the storm, not a person who carries the storm with them everywhere they go. This leads us to wonder, if he hates the noise of vanity so much, how does he feel about someone who lacks the one thing he prizes most in himself, his relentless ambition? Or perhaps, is there something even more triggering for a man who literally built his empire from nothing? Number 6. Type: the aimless wanderer, no passion, total lethargy. To understand why Min Yoongi would find a woman without a sense of purpose completely unattractive, you have to look back at the cold, hungry nights in Daegu, where he had to choose between a bus ride home or a bowl of noodles. This is a man who didn't just debut, he survived. He is the personification of Han, that deep-seated Korean sentiment of collective sorrow and the fierce will to overcome it. His entire identity is built on the sweat and tears of a producer who worked 20 hours a day in a basement studio. So, imagine his reaction to someone who lives life without a spark, a woman who has no dreams, no hobbies, and no burning desire to be better than she was yesterday. For Yoongi, passion is the very oxygen he breathes. He famously said he likes people who are good at their jobs, and that doesn't just apply to his colleagues, it's a prerequisite for his heart. A woman who is the aimless wanderer, someone who drifts through life with a whatever attitude, lacking a personal mission or a creative outlet, would be fundamentally boring to him. He doesn't need you to be a world-famous artist. You could be a baker, a coder, or a gardener. But you must do it with a fire that matches his own. He is a man who talks about music with a terrifying intensity, someone who stays up until the sun rises to fix a single transition in a song. If he comes home to a partner who has no interests, no opinions on their craft, and no drive to grow, the intellectual gap would be an unbridgeable canyon. He thrives on work talk and the mutual respect that comes from two people pushing their limits. A woman who is content with stagnation, who has no intellectual curiosity or dream to chase, would represent a lifestyle that is antithesis to everything he stands for. He has spent his life fighting against the giving up generation, and he has zero patience for someone who chooses to be a passenger in their own life. In his eyes, a lack of ambition isn't just a personality trait, it's a lack of respect for the gift of life. He wants a woman who is so busy chasing her own stars that they have to schedule their us time like a business meeting, because that level of dedication is what he finds truly sexy. If you are the type of person who is just waiting for things to happen instead of making them happen, you would be invisible to him. He doesn't want to be someone's entire world. He wants to be the partner of someone who has a world of their own. The thought of a partner who is lazy in spirit or empty in ambition would make him feel like he's suffocating. He needs someone who understands the glory of the struggle. If you don't have something that makes your eyes light up when you talk about it, you'll never see that spark reflected in his. He's not looking for a follower, he's looking for a fellow warrior. It makes you think, though, if he demands such high levels of ambition and independence, how does he deal with someone who is the complete opposite of his straight-talk policy? What happens when he encounters the one thing a blunt man like Yoongi can't stand? A mask? Number 5. Type: the passive, aggressive mind, gamer, indirect communication, emotional maze. Min Yoongi is a man who operates on the frequency of brutal, unfiltered honesty. He is the guy who will tell you exactly what he thinks, even if it cuts like a serrated blade, because to him, truth is the highest form of respect. If you've listened to his lyrics or watched his interviews, you know he has a straight-talk policy that borders on the legendary. This brings us to the type of woman he would find absolutely intolerable: the passive, aggressive mind gamer. Imagine a scenario where there's a conflict, and instead of sitting down to discuss it like a rational adult, she resorts to the silent treatment, heavy sighs, cryptic social media posts, or the dreaded "I'm fine" when she clearly isn't. For a man like Yoongi, who spent his formative years fighting for a seat at the table in the cutthroat underground rap scene and then the global idol industry, life is far too short for guessing games. He is a person who values mental clarity above all else. His brain is a complex laboratory of sounds and structures, and the last thing he wants to do when he comes home is play detective with his partner's emotions. A woman who expects him to read her mind, or who uses emotional manipulation to get her way, would find herself shut out of his life faster than a bad demo track. Yoongi isn't interested in navigating an emotional maze. He wants a partner who can look him in the eye and say, "I'm upset because of this. Let's fix it." He has often expressed that he likes people who are composed and wise, and to him, wisdom is synonymous with directness. Passive aggression is, in his view, a sign of immaturity, and a lack of self-awareness, two things that are complete deal-breakers for a man who has spent years in therapy and self-reflection to master his own demons. He doesn't have the patience to decode hints or signals. If you can't say it to his face, he won't hear it. This type of woman creates a psychological noise that disrupts his peace, and we already know that yoongi protects his peace at all costs. He's the type of person who would rather have a heated, honest argument that leads to a resolution than a week of cold, tension-filled silence. He finds the damsel in distress, or the manipulative sweetheart tropes, not only exhausting but deeply unattractive because they lack the coolness and authenticity he prizes. He wants a woman who is her own person, someone who is grounded enough to handle her own emotions and communicate them with the same precision he uses in his rap verses. If you are someone who plays hard to get by being inconsistent or someone who uses guilt as a weapon, you would represent everything yoongi has fought to remove from his inner circle. He wants a relationship that feels like a safe harbor, not a battlefield of hidden agendas. He needs a woman who is real to the bone, someone who doesn't wear a mask or hide behind social niceties. It's about that raw, unfiltered connection. But this raises a deeper question. If he hates the game of manipulation, how does he feel about someone who lacks the basic empathy to understand his own complex, often dark emotional world? Or better yet, what happens when he meets someone who is just too superficial for his deep-sea soul? Number 4. Type. The shallow materialist, brand-obsessed, empty soul. Min Yoongi is the king of quiet luxury before it was even a trend. He is a man who can buy the most expensive watch in the room but chooses to wear a simple black t-shirt because he doesn't need a logo to define his worth. This is why the shallow materialist is a type he would find fundamentally repulsive. Yoongi's journey is one of the most profound rags-to-riches stories in modern music history, from selling songs for pennies and skipping meals in Daegu to having a net worth that could buy a small island. Because he has seen both the bottom and the top, he has developed a bullshit detector that is second to none. He can smell inauthenticity from a mile away. A woman who is obsessed with labels, someone who judges people based on the brand of their shoes, or someone who treats life like a never-ending luxury catalog would never get past his initial guard. For Yoongi, money is a tool for creative freedom and providing for his family, not a personality trait. He has spent years writing lyrics about the emptiness of the idols who only care about fame and fancy cars, so why would he date a woman who embodies that very hollowness? Imagine her trying to talk to him about the latest it bag while he's trying to explain the emotional resonance of a specific piano chord in a track he's producing. The intellectual and spiritual disconnect would be staggering. He values the unseen, the effort, the struggle, the hidden layers of a person's character. A woman who is surface level, who cares more about the aesthetic of her life than the ethics of her soul, would be an instant turnoff. He's a man who has struggled with depression, social anxiety, and the weight of his own dreams. He needs someone who has touched the darkness and come out stronger, not someone who lives in a glittery bubble of superficiality. To Yoongi, there is nothing more unattractive than someone who tries to flex what they have rather than be who they are. He has often said he likes people who are cool, but his definition of cool isn't about clothes. It's about an aura of self-assuredness that doesn't need validation from a price tag. If a woman is more interested in the Suga of BTS lifestyle, the private jets, the parties, the designer gifts than in Min Yoongi, the human being, he would shut her out without a second thought. He is looking for a soul mate, in the truest sense of the word, someone whose depth matches the Mariana Trench of his own mind. A woman who lives for the likes and the clout is just another version of the industry noise he's been trying to escape his entire career. He wants someone who would still be by his side if the fame vanished tomorrow and they were back in that small studio in Daegu. If you are someone who thinks money can buy taste or that brands can replace character, you are the antithesis of everything August D stands for. He doesn't want a shining diamond that is hollow inside. He wants a rough stone that has been polished by experience and wisdom. This brings up a massive point. If he hates superficiality, how does he handle the opposite of his calm? What about the woman who is a literal energy vampire? Number 3. Type. The emotionally intrusive energy vampire. No boundaries, constant noise. Min Yoongi is a man who treats his personal space like a sacred temple, a fortress of solitude where he recharges his creative batteries after being drained by the screams of tens of thousands of people. He is the ultimate introvert's introvert, a person who physically and mentally requires long periods of isolation to remain functional. This is why the emotionally intrusive energy vampire is a type that would send him running for the hills. Imagine a woman who doesn't understand the concept of a closed door, someone who demands his 24/7 attention and feels personally insulted when he retreats into his cave to produce music. Yoongi has spent years perfecting the art of being alone without being lonely. His studio, the Genius Lab, is a place where he spends countless hours in a flow state. A woman who constantly checks in, who sends a barrage of "where are you?" texts, or who insists on being part of every single thought process he has, would feel like a weight around his neck. For Yoongi, love is about a comfortable distance where two people can coexist without suffocating each other. He needs a partner who has her own life, her own silence, and her own cave. A woman who is emotionally needy or who lacks social intelligence regarding his moods would be a source of immense stress for him. We've seen him in the Soup and Bon Voyage. He is the guy who wakes up, drinks his coffee in total silence, and observes the world before interacting with it. If a woman enters his life with high-frequency chaos, demanding immediate emotional labor or constant conversation, she would disrupt the very equilibrium that allows him to be a genius. He has zero tolerance for clinginess. To him, a woman who cannot handle being alone is a woman who isn't yet whole, and Yoongi isn't interested in completing anyone. He wants a partner who is already complete. He once mentioned that his ideal date involves just staying home and watching a movie, or better yet, just being in the same space doing different things. If a woman interprets his need for solitude as rejection or coldness, the relationship is doomed from day one. He values a woman who is low maintenance. Emotionally, someone who can read the room and knows that when his headphones are on, the rest of the world, including her, needs to wait. This type of woman, the energy vampire, thrives on external stimulation and emotional drama, which is the exact opposite of Yoongi's battery-saving mode lifestyle. He doesn't want to be anyone's everything if it means he has to give up his nothingness, that precious void where his music is born. If you are someone who needs constant reassurance or who feels the need to fill every silence with words, you would find yourself locked out of the Genius Lab and his heart very quickly. He isn't being mean. He's surviving. He needs a woman who is as fiercely protective of her own boundaries as he is of his. But this leads to an even more critical realization. If he values boundaries and intelligence so much, what happens when he meets someone who lacks the one thing he has spent his entire life refining? What about the woman who is the ignorant critic? Number 2. Type, the narrow-minded ignorant critic, cultural insensitivity, intellectual wall. Min Yoongi is not just a rapper. He is a scholar of the human condition, a man who has spent over a decade dismantling social taboos, talking openly about mental health, and blending genres from hip-hop to classical piano. He is a man of immense intellectual depth, who spends his free time reading books on psychology, philosophy, and history to better understand the world he's criticizing in his lyrics. This is why he would never, under any circumstances, date the narrow-minded ignorant critic. Imagine a woman who is trapped in a bubble of her own prejudice, someone who judges things she doesn't understand, or, worse, someone who belittles the idol profession as something superficial without seeing the artistry behind it. For Yoongi, music is a universal language that bridges cultures, and he has fought tooth and nail against the K-pop labels to be recognized as a legitimate artist. A woman who makes ignorant comments, whether they are culturally insensitive, dismissive of other people's struggles, or simply lacking the intellectual curiosity to learn, would be an immediate no for him. He has often stated that he is attracted to people who are wise and have a lot to say about the world. If he sits down for a meal and realizes his partner has a black and white view of life, or if she lacks the empathy to understand the diverse perspectives he encounters while traveling the globe, the conversation would die before the appetizers arrive. Yoongi's mind is a vast, open landscape. He is a man who challenged the very society he grew up in through tracks like Amygdala and The Last. He needs a woman who can keep up with his Socratic way of thinking, someone who isn't afraid to have their worldview challenged. A woman who is stagnant in her thoughts, who refuses to educate herself, or who speaks loudly about topics she hasn't researched would represent a level of intellectual laziness that he finds deeply unattractive. He has worked too hard to expand his own horizons to be tethered to someone who chooses to live in a dark room of ignorance. To yoongi, wisdom is the ultimate aphrodisiac, and the ignorant critic is the ultimate buzzkill. He wants someone who can discuss the complexities of the music industry one minute and the nuances of social justice the next. If a woman is judgmental of others' appearances, backgrounds, or choices without having walked a mile in their shoes, she would be the antithesis of the compassionate observer role that yoongi has adopted in his later years. He doesn't just want a pretty face, he wants a beautiful mind that is open to the endless possibilities of the universe. If your worldview is small, your chance with Min Yoongi is even smaller. He needs a partner who is a global citizen in spirit, someone who values learning as a lifelong journey. He has no time for people who think they already know everything. But as we reach the summit of this list, there is one final type, the absolute red flag, that combines almost all of these traits into one final, deal-breaking persona. Who is the one woman who would make even the calmest man in K-pop lose his patience? Number 1. Type: the inauthentic social climber, fake persona, total betrayal. If there is one thing that defines Min Yoongi's entire existence, from his underground days as Gloss to his global reign as Suga, it is the word authenticity. He has a built-in, high-definition radar for anything fake, and the inauthentic social climber is the ultimate personification of everything he despises. This is a man who wrote The Last, a song so raw it bared his soul to the world, discussing his social anxiety and the pressure of the idol life with terrifying honesty. For Yoongi, being real isn't a brand, it's a survival mechanism. Imagine then a woman who wears a mask for every occasion, someone who calculates her every move based on how it will look to the public or how it will benefit her status. For a man who values the gritty, unpolished truth, a fake persona is a personal insult. Yoongi has seen the darkest corners of the entertainment industry. He has seen people change their faces and their personalities the moment a camera starts rolling. And he has spent his career running in the opposite direction. A woman who is a social climber, someone who wants to date him not for the man who loves tangerines and sleeps in his studio, but for the BTS title, and the proximity to power is his greatest fear and his biggest red flag. He has a profound disdain for empty vessels that make the most noise. If he senses even a hint of clout chasing or that a woman is performing a personality to impress him, he will shut down instantly. He doesn't want a curated version of a human being. He wants the messy, honest, just woke-up reality. He has worked too hard to build a life of integrity to let someone in who treats relationships like a business transaction or a ladder to a higher social circle. To Yoongi, loyalty and being yourself are the only currencies that matter. A woman who gossips to gain favor, who treats people differently based on their rank, or who hides her true intentions behind a sweet, manufactured smile would be the ultimate betrayal of his trust. He needs a partner who is so grounded in her own skin that she doesn't care about the Suga mythos. She only cares about the Yoongi who gets tired, the Yoongi who gets grumpy, and the Yoongi who creates art from pain. If you are someone who prioritizes image over essence, or if you use people to get ahead, you are the one type of person Min Yoongi would never, ever allow into his inner sanctum. He is looking for a home, not a trophy, and the inauthentic social climber can only ever offer a house of mirrors. He wants someone who is as August D as he is unfiltered, unapologetic, and 100% real. If you can't be yourself when the lights are off, you'll never see the light in his eyes. This is the ultimate deal breaker because it attacks the very foundation of who he is, a man of truth in a world of lies. In a world full of people trying to be someone, he is looking for the one person who is brave enough to just be themselves. That concludes our deep dive into the types of women who would never make the cut for Min Yoongi. Would you like me to create a closing summary that highlights the golden traits he actually looks for to balance out this list?